welcome our good friend, Bob Vanderplots, who's getting ready to head out on the Footsteps of Paul tour. So you'll be gone for a couple of weeks here on the program?
I've only missed 1 week. I might be a little bit jet lagged the following week. We get back actually the 21st on a Sunday, so I'll be back on the 22nd. But yeah, a little Greece, a little Turkey, a little Del Tacket, Footsteps of Paul, and a great delegation of the family leader going down there. So it should be very insightful. Just like when you go to Israel the first time, you say, I'll never read the scriptures the same again. Mm-hmm. I got to believe this is going to be kind of that.
Brings it home, does it?
It really does.
All right. Well, let's get into what's going on here in our home right now. Okay. And we are now going to have the top 2 positions statewide wide open in next year's midterms. I told the audience, it's the key is per capita. Right, we don't have the population base or the media centers to match dollar for dollar what's going to be spent in Pennsylvania or in Florida or in California or Texas, right? Okay, but per capita, one quasi-major media market here, a little over 3 million people, and given the small amount of margins in both the Senate and the House. Because now with Joni Ernst stepping down, the congresswoman from Eastern Iowa, Ashley Hinson, is stepping down to run for that seat. So that's going to open up, and that's the biggest swing district in the state, probably, okay, if not the one that we live in. Mm-hmm. So, and then we have an open governor's race as well because of the announcement that Kim Reynolds shocked everybody with 5 months ago. So per capita, we're going to probably spend more money in this state than will be spent anywhere in the country on those races. On top of that, I think we should discuss, therefore, what is the environment on the ground here heading into these fights? Because I would definitely say our state is redder than the median average of both the country and other red states. Fair?
Totally agree.
Okay. So...
Didn't used to be. It is.
But that's the environment that we've worked very hard, a lot of us have, to create and make that happen here. Okay, and you were a big part of that.
Steve, is it was changed in that way before Trump.
Yeah.
And then Trump only accelerated.
Yes. The thing that, and I've said this many times, the thing that Trump helped us to do is we had everything in place to turn the state from purple to red, which we had already done. But we still had a lot of rural areas of the state that just were turned off by corporatism in the Republican Party, that no matter how much we went to family values with them, they just believed Republicans didn't care about them.
Sure.
And Trump's economic messaging kind of was the last hurdle we needed to go from a state trending red to a state deep red, because that is what unlocked the rural Iowa voter for us. 30-plus Iowa counties that voted for Obama twice and have now voted thrice for Donald Trump, for example. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I think that we are a good test case for where the country is, because if we're struggling with energy here, given the gains made here, I'm concerned what that says where things are on a national level that is trending behind us in terms of how red the activism is on the ground. On the other hand, maybe things are great. So, we're 1 year away from being in the throes of the environment that will determine the election. It'll be too late to change things. That's the environment. We're going to have to figure out how to win in it. That'll be cemented by this time next year, post-Labor Day, heading into the midterms, right? So 12 months out from cementing that environment, what's the energy level here on the ground? How prepared is our side for these two fights?
Well, let me give you, the audience, a couple of things, and you've alluded to them, Steve. First of all, you have your top 2 positions open. You got the governor's race and you got the U.S. Senate race open now with Joni Ernst stepping aside. The reason that's a big deal is this will be a decade decision. Iowa politicians don't change over very quickly. You had Terry Branstad, longest-serving governor in the nation's history. You have Chuck Grassley, longest-serving U.S. Senator, I believe right now, in the nation's history. You had Attorney General Tom Miller, longest-serving Attorney General in the nation's history. So now you have a U.S. Senate race open and you have a governorship open. So for Iowans, this could be a seismic shift for a decade or more, if whichever way the election goes. That said, the energy on the ground is absolutely dismal. Matter of fact, Steve, I think you went to an event and you said there's people there who didn't even know Kim Reynolds announced that she wasn't running again.
Correct.
And these are activists. These aren't just your typical people that are.
If you're coming to a party event in early August And then you're committed. You're invested, okay? In a non-election year, you're the hardcore, and there were people there that were not aware of that.
And so with Joni Ernst announcing she's not going to run again, she's going to retire, and her and Ashley Hinson obviously had a deal made because Ashley Hinson came in with, I've got all these endorsements, I'm announcing a 99-county tour, publicly announcing my campaign. I do know from the highest of levels here in the party apparatus in Iowa, they're hoping that she can give some energy and momentum and wake people up. Because if we don't, there are things that are showing caution flags all over the place, both tangibly and, say, anecdotally. Anecdotally is there seems to be no energy. Tangibly, there's a special election that was just held a couple of weeks ago where Trump won that district by 11 points, and our candidate lost that district by 11 points. That's a 22-point swing. And earlier, in about 18 months ago, it was a deal where Trump won. Probably not 18 months ago, it was in this year. In eastern Iowa, where Trump won the district by 23 points, we won that special election by 3 points. So tangibly, we're saying the numbers aren't adding up. I mean, there's energy and enthusiasm on the left. There's not energy and enthusiasm on the right. So we need something to spark that energy and enthusiasm to say we want to be in the game in this crucial midterm. And Iowa will be the hottest state in the country, bar none, with our congressional races, our U.S. Senate race, and our governor's race.
So if we're asleep here, and you and I do get to travel, you and I both travel all over the country doing this. If we're asleep at the wheel here, then I'm going to assume we're pretty much asleep at the wheel absolutely everywhere.
That's my fear. And part of it is, does President Trump give us this false security that, and now he's not going to be on the ballot?
Yep.
Right? This false security, hey, we're just going to win because we're going to just get tired of winning. But when Trump's not on the ballot, I think there's a huge concern. And usually with an open governor's race, Steve, and I've ran for that office a couple of times, that office doesn't come open very often. So when it does come open, there should be energy around that particular office. And right now, we're just not seeing it. It's not that the candidates are typically bad candidates. We're just not seeing the energy of even to say, we want to make sure that the baton is passed and passed successfully from Kim Reynolds to the next governor.
So I think we have two structural issues. And one of them, I think we will not be able to do anything about. And the other, I'm not sure how much we can do about it, as long as we're going to have the interest rates we currently have, and the Americans are sitting on the amount of liquidity in their homes and their equity that they really can't afford to tap into because of how high those rates are.
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is we got to get our arms around the kitchen table economy. There's some macro things in terms of what the markets are doing and things of that nature that the White House likes to pump. But you see anecdotal signs like Amazon had one of the worst Amazon Prime days in the history of the company, recently. You can just see on the kitchen table issues that it hasn't, pardon the phrase, trickled down to the level that people are going out there and doing a bunch of discretionary spending right now. All right. And that's got to get addressed. Okay. And I think if we do address it, I think we could wipe out Democrats next year. Yep. Because they're outside the mainstream, way outside of it on every other issue people care about. But if we cannot get our arms around the kitchen table economic issues, then I think next year becomes very difficult for us.
That's why President Trump has put so much pressure on Powell, saying, lower those interest rates. Because if you go to the gas pump, I think there's a lot of people saying, I'm okay at the gas pump today. I mean, it's a pretty stable thing where I go, it's not the skyrocket high to say under the Biden administration. There's a lot of other kitchen table goods where that's a problem. And then you put the deal about affordability to buy a home.
Yeah. Say
for your daughter, my son, what? And then there's.
See, I actually think the gas thing is a good analogy for where we are. They're not escalating to the point of where they were before. They're still way higher than people are used to paying.
Yep.
I mean, here in Iowa, $2.89, and you're paying $3.89, $4.89 in California and other places. So that's, I think, a good marker for where we are when I say kitchen table. the descent we were in, the managed decline we were in, has been stopped, right? Mm-hmm. But like Amy and I did our monthly grocery shopping at Walmart, and I talked about this in the show last week, just a week ago. And we have fewer people to buy for than ever before. We have 2 different trips coming up during this grocery period that we're out of town for, so we don't have to buy food for. We also do like one of those HelloFresh things, because those are excellent for meal preparation when many nights it's just the 2 of us, right? So this was the least filled cart at Walmart we have ever had in the history of our entire family for a monthly shopping trip. It was $300 even.
You didn't see it at the cash register, did you?
No. In fact, we stopped on the way out the door, okay, and went through the receipt and everything in the cart, because we could not possibly believe that that's what it cost. You know,
that's a bit of deja vu. Darla and I just did that. I said, whoa, come back. Before we walk out of this door, I want to see, how did that thing scam us at the scanner?
Yeah.
And no, like, no, it didn't scam
I'm making the best living I've ever made in my life right now, and I felt that $300. I cannot imagine people who are not making as much money as I am, how they are feeling that.
Yeah.
And so the good news is, hey, the price of eggs is not the ridiculousness it was before. The bad news is it's not anywhere down to where people are accustomed to it used to being. And that's the same thing with gas and virtually everything else. And somehow we got to figure out how to get our arms around that, Bob.
And that's why I think you're seeing the low energy as well. About, kind of like, I was hoping there'd be this huge difference. Not everybody's caught up into the stock market like some of your listeners. I mean, they are caught up in the stock market. Like, what's the stock market doing? But other people, their stock market is that Walmart, tab after groceries, or the grocery store tab. And so, Steve, I think you're hitting it in regard to the kitchen tables. And what can we do? I think there just has to be more trust in a President Trump at that level. But will that trickle down to, say, the governor's race and the U.S. Senate race?
The other issue, I think, is just a sunk cost, and there's not much we can do about it. And how do I put this delicately? We're in a situation where the president has successfully branded himself as the most right-wing based figure we could possibly have, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things he's done as president this time around that he didn't do the first time that is actually cementing that branding. He's actually living up to that branding to some degree, when the first time around he kind of really didn't, all right? And so that has greatly raised the expectations of our people. That's kind of not who Ashley Hinson is. It's certainly not who Joni Ernst was. And it's really not who most of the Republicans around the country we're being asked to vote for. And the president right now is really, it's almost as if he's not even ideologically, in many cases, filtering his endorsements, as opposed to who can win that I can get in office and hope they do what I want them to do, right? And I understand I even understand why they feel that way, because if we lose the House, he's a lame duck the next day. And he's just fending off impeachment for the last 2 years. And so is Bobby Kennedy. And so is Pete Hegseth. And so is Marco Rubio and every cabinet official. Mm-hmm. Everybody's getting impeached. That's all we're doing for 2 years. Not just Trump, but everybody else. Yep. All right. So I understand that. But the problem is, on the ground, the people know who Ashley Hinson and Joni Ernst really are. The people know who the Republicans in their own states, in many cases, really are. And they're not the branding that Trump has lived up to. And so there's an enthusiasm gap. And this is why when Trump's on the ballot, our people are running to the polls. And when he's not, they're like, that's not what I'm being sold. And I don't think there's a way out of that trap. I really don't.
And the enthusiasm gap, I think, goes more than to policy. I think it goes to a bias for action.
Yeah.
Trump has a huge bias for action.
I mean, on a given day, how many times has Ashley Hinson been to a family leadership summit?
I have not seen Ashley Hinson at a family leadership summit. My thing, though, with Donald Trump is that the bias for action. Gulf of Mexico, I'm going to make it Gulf of America. You know what? We're going to call it Mount McKinley. You know, it's going to be the Department of War. Right. And people are seeing this.
Right. So name the top 5 things that you can think of right now that Ashley Hinson did in Congress that fired you up.
That's the issue.
Yes.
And so what it is, too.
And then there's an Ashley Hinson in every state. In fact, that's pretty much who the Republicans are in almost every state.
And so when Ronald Reagan talked about bold conservative colors, not this pale pastel, and what Trump is saying, here's the action that you do. So this new Mitt Romney thing, like, I'll just be more the Mitt Romney, that's not going to sell. They want bold leadership that they believe they can trust. If you can offer bold leadership that the people of Iowa believe you can trust, I think what it is, it raises the enthusiasm gap. If you don't offer that, I think we could be in trouble. Even here in Iowa, which has turned a lot more red.
I've got less than a minute here. I think we can't fix point 2. I think that's just the behavior of the king, and that's the king's court we're going to have, and it is what it is. Number one
Do you
is the
think
one.
a Trump rally in Iowa would help that out or no?
Of course, but only that brings me to number one.
Yeah.
Number one is the one we have to do something about. If we do something about number one, then number two will ultimately take care of itself because we're on the right side of every other issue other than the kitchen table economy. And I think we've got to get our arms around that. I'll give you the last story. I got about 40 seconds.
I think you're right. I mean, James Carville said, it's the economy stupid. I think people still vote their pocketbook, and they want to be able to make sure not only can they afford the house that they want to go into, can their kids afford to buy the home that they want to go into, and then they can they provide for themselves so that they have a choice that mom or dad get to stay home raising our grandchildren.
I'm not here, and listen, I don't think Joni Ernst was a great senator. She's not a communist or anything. She's just not the branding that Trump represents. And Ashley Hinson, I'd say, is a little better than her, but neither is she. These two ladies are who most Republicans are. But most of our people are sick of who most Republicans are and want the branding that Trump verbalizes.
They need to demonstrate they will have the bias for action like Trump has.
Correct.
And things will be different because you've elected me versus status quo.
Well, enjoy the Footsteps of Paul tour. I look forward to hearing about it in a couple weeks.
All right.
Be safe.